Hello, today I'm going to show you how to take this picture and retouch it and make it perfect. So this is our original picture on layer number 1 over here on the left. Now I've added a few adjustments to make it look like this on my layer 1 copy, because we never want to work on our original layer. You always want to keep your original layer clean so that if you want to go back, you can always have your original picture to work with. So I've made a copy and this is what the copy looks like. So far it looks pretty good. Then I've added paintbrush tool to make it look even better. On a separate layer, of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide these layers and start fresh again. So I'm going to take my layer 1 copy and I'm going to lock it. Then I'm going to take the paintbrush copy and lock it. Once I've locked those layers, I'm going to create a new layer, and this will be my paintbrush layer. And I'm going to name it paintbrush layer 2 so we don't get confused with our first paintbrush layer. And I'm also going to drag a copy of my original layer to the icon for new layer to create a layer 1 copy 2. Now we're going to work on this copy. So for now, I'm going to hide these layers that I've locked so that we can see our original image. Now as we start to work on this layer, we have to start with the spot healing brush tool. Make sure you're working on the right copy, or as I just did, you'll get this icon that shows you can't work on the layer. So make sure you are on layer 1 copy 2, or if you have just made a copy, it should say layer 1 copy. Now with my spot healing brush tool on the right over here, you can also click J on your keyboard. I'm going to start spotting away at the mistakes on the picture, or the damage on the picture. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit and start dotting away at the errors. I like to start in places that are more blank, white, and spaced to get a more perfect effect. And once I've done those, then I'll go back and fix the places that have a bit more detail. You could also use dragging motions like this to get the same effect. In some cases, this might not work because of the detailed pixels around the object. If you've made a mistake with your spot healing brush tool and you get spots here and there, that's okay because we're always going to go and correct it with our paintbrush tool. I don't think this is a very common use for the paintbrush tool, but on a separate layer is very effective to use because you can always erase the layer or go back and make changes. So now I'm going to do the curtain here. And I like to keep on dotting away at the curtain just to make it look a little bit more natural. Make the lines flow a bit more perfect. Now I'm going to go on her arm. Now his hair. In these areas you have to be a bit more careful because it is hair. Over here on his hair, as you can see, the hair moved a little bit, but again we're going to fix that with the paintbrush tool later. If you're not sure what the spot healing brush tool does, all it does is copies pixels from around it and replaces them with the object you choose. So as I'm dotting away at this area in my circle, it's going to be replaced with the black and gray pixels around it. This is what makes it look so natural. In some cases, you can use another tool over here called the patch tool, which is in the same section as the spot healing brush tool. But sometimes it doesn't work so I prefer to use a spot healing brush tool in certain cases. So as you can see, the forehead got a little bit gray on it, and that's because it's copying the pixels around it, so it does grab a little bit of the gray around it. As you can see, this lady's jacket, as I'm dotting away, gets a lot of these dotted gray spots, and we're going to fix those too. So you can just continue dotting away, and if you do make a mistake, you can always press Ctrl Z on your keyboard to go back. If you need to go back several times, press Ctrl Alt Z and keep pressing Z to keep on deleting. So now I'm just going to go on the little areas. If I see little spots on the picture, I'm going to remove them. If there's spots on people's faces, anything like that, they will be removed. Now down here on this little boy's hand, you can see that his hand is a bit ruined, probably from the picture being so old. So what I'm going to do this hand is also going to be on our next layer, which is the paintbrush tool layer. So in my layers panel now, I'm going to lock this layer, and work on my paintbrush layer. Now I'm going to start from the top and slowly correct areas that need correction. So right under my spot healing brush tool is the brush tool. You could also select the letter B on your keyboard. I'm going to grab this. You want to make sure your colors over here on the bottom are black and white, and you could use X on your keyboard to make them switch around. We're going to start with white, so make sure the white is on top. You can keep the opacity at 100, which I like to do, but if you don't feel as confident to keep it at 100%, you could put it to 50 and then dot away more and more to make it more opaque. So I'm slowly going to go over the forehead and get rid of those spots that I don't want. Over here there's some spots. I'm going to erase those too. Control Z or Command Z on a Mac. And now, as I was saying, on the little boy's hand over here, we have some mistakes. So I'm going to dot away at these. And like I said, you can lower your opacity if you feel more comfortable that way. So that looks good. Now we're going to move on to the black. So you can just press X on your keyboard to switch the colors around and start working with your black paintbrush. On her shirt over here, she has a bit of line still, so I'm going to dot away with that, with the black. And I'm just going to go right over it, and it's barely even going to show, especially when you zoom out of the picture. For such an old picture, it doesn't even show. Her shirt over here is a bit ruined, so I'm also going to just slowly go over it and kind of blend it out with the rest of her shirt. And I'm also going to blend out a few of these dots on this side of her dress to make it look a bit more natural. Make it look like there's a bit of shadow around her. Now I forgot to touch up this hair here, so I'm just going to press X again and touch up with some white. Remember, you're always working on your paintbrush layer. If you do this on your other layer, you cannot erase the white you've made. On this layer instead, if I try to erase something with the eraser tool, by pressing E, I can erase what I just did without damaging any of the rest of the photo. So I'm going to undo that. because I want it to be this way. And I'm continue working with the paintbrush tool. So I just thought a little added touch was to take the black and lower the opacity to about 20%, 25%, and just darken her hair up a little bit. I'm clicking a few times slowly just to give it a bit of a nicer look. Once that's done, I'm going to zoom out to show you what it looks like. So as you can see, none of the touch-ups show with the paintbrush, so that's exactly what we want. Now we're going to unlock our layer 1 copy 2, or in your case, layer 1 copy, so that we can work on it again. So now that this copy is unlocked, we are going to go on the right side, left side of our screen, and we're going to choose our sharpen tool. You want to pick a big size. I'm picking a size of 349 pixels, and I'm going to just roll over the faces just to give them a bit more detail. The sharpen tool will help the faces be a bit less blurry. I also drag it over the clothes sometimes if they're a little bit blurry. Take your time with this, but you really don't need any more than if doing it with a couple times with the sharpen tool. It'll do it for you. Now after this is done, we're going to again work on layer 1 copy 2, or in your case, layer 1 copy, and use the burn tool, which is located right under the sharpen tool. You can also press O on your keyboard. Once that's chosen, I'm going to grab a brush of about 120 pixels, and I'm going to start burning the picture. What this does is it adds contrast without having to use an adjustments layer. So as you can see, it'll only darken the darker areas, and the light white areas will stay white. So it only adds more shadows, more detail to the picture, almost the same effect as a sharpen tool, but better. So I'm running over their faces, their collars of their jackets, their fingers, which are very important. It adds a nice touch to the picture. Over this man's mustache, I can go a couple times, dot a few times over the mustache, and as you can see, it shows a bit more now. I'm also going to darken his jacket a little bit, darken the men's jackets, and the little boys. Like I said, it doesn't do anything wrong, it just makes it have a bit more contrast. I'm going to dot on her fingers here a little bit because I feel like they're a bit invisible in the back, and hers too. And over the details of this woman's dress on the left, on the right. And over the bow ties. So that's about it. So now to see the final product, I'm going to show you what it looks like without the layers that we've just done. So first, for the paintbrush layer, if we remove it, as you can see, a lot of the details that were there before are gone, but look much better, look much cleaner, make the picture look a lot newer. Now I'm going to remove that layer, I'm going to hide it, and I'm going to show just the original copy, so I'm going to hide my layer 1 copy 2. So this is without the paintbrush layer and without the layer 1 copy 2. This is the original picture. As you can see, there's the line across, there's dots. Once I add my layer copy 2 back, it's much more dark, a lot more contrast, the lines are fixed, and when I add the paintbrush tool, it just removes everything that was wrong with it, makes it perfect. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you learned something, and take your time with it, and you'll do even better than this with your picture.